I come from a background of a shepherd boy, so that means that I'm one of those, African young guys who went to Motebong, which is a shepherd school where, the boys go out, they look after livestock, they learn a variety of things, which are basically, biological science projects like, they catch locusts, they, dissect the locust, they learn the parts of the locust, and you have this elder person who comes around to kind of proctor the knowledge acquisition, during this process of Motebong, so that they know, what a locust looks like, what are the parts of the locust, what kind of noise does a locust make, and all kinds of animals. You learn all kinds of stuff, and by the time actually they finish that, they have achieved a very high level of education. When I, of course, left South Africa and came to Canada, I was surprised to learn that a lot of things that we in Africa learn at a very young age, actually here they learn them, either in high school or at the university level. This is quite amazing. A very good example is we have a game in South Africa called Muravarava, and this is a very mathematical game actually, and one of the interesting features of this Muravarava is a feature called Lehutla, which is actually a recursive system. Now that concept of recursive system is a very advanced mathematical concept, which you only learn at university when you go and take university mathematics, like combinatorics, discrete mathematics, calculus. That's where you actually learn this concept of recursive systems, like recursive functions and so forth. But actually on the African continent, where I actually grew up, you find that actually boys and girls knew about this concept actually at a very young age. So that's just one example of how the pedagogy is different, on the African continent, where a kid is introduced to some sophisticated subjects at a very young age, and by the time they are advanced, they have built quite a very deep and broad base of knowledge. Whereas in a country like Canada, they get bits and pieces of knowledge, which is highly controlled, and it takes a very long time for a Canadian student, for example, to acquire the same knowledge base as an African kid who grows up in a traditional African society. Now, things are also changing in a country like South Africa. Of course, the traditional societies that I grew up under, they are actually, disappearing. So more and more people, they are adopting this Western form of education, which actually means, very controlled, very little clinical type of education, that sort of stuff. Anyways, but one of the interesting things that I still remember has to do with the desert flower, which I think is a very powerful motivator. One of the interesting things about the desert flower is that it always suffers a perpetual shortage of water. It grows where it is extremely dry in a place like the Kalahari Desert. But what's interesting is that even though it is sometimes looks like it's dead, or sometimes you don't even see any sign of it on the ground, it is actually very much alive underground, waiting, of course, for the slightest indications of the falling rain. And as soon as the rains fall, this flower springs to life, knowing that the rain will soon be gone. You'll see it dancing in the breeze, while other plants are still thinking about, whether to come out. This plant is already out. It's already dancing in the breeze, in the rain. So it is as if the adversity of water shortage does not have an impact on its positive appreciation of the falling rain. It's always hopeful. It always believes that the rain will come, and once the rain comes, it actually springs to life, because it knows that this rain is not going to be there forever. So that kind of inspiration has always provided me with the electricity of maintaining a positive energy and a positive attitude in life, because adversity does not have to define you. You must have power over adversity. Always looking on the positive side of life. Okay, so I hope this means something to you.